Tubers, tubettes, and of course crazy people. All right, this video is going to be about the 3 biggest misconceptions that I think people have about moving to the Philippines, specifically here in sleepy little Dumaguete. So they're not necessarily lies, but they're things that people have been led to believe, and I don't believe that they are necessarily true. All right, so if you're interested in what those 3 things are, the 3 biggest misconceptions about living here in sleepy little Dumaguete, here comes my goofy video. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 things that I think are the biggest misconceptions about Dumaguete. Number 1, I would say that it's overrun with expats. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that I would argue with anybody, any day and all day. When I was here 7 years ago, prior to COVID, there were more expats in Dumaguete than there are today. What I think has changed, and the numbers back that up. Prior to the pandemic, 8 million people visited the Philippines in general. Post-COVID, 5 million people visited the Philippines, and that's all islands, not Dumaguete. I think there's about 5,000 foreigners living here, and the population is about 150,000 people. So you do the math and tell me if you think we're a large percentage or not. I would say no. There are concentrations of foreigners that go to and congregate in foreigner-friendly bars, restaurants, and parts of town. And we look like a big presence. And since it's in some of the more popular areas of town, I think it's making a visual impact when the actual numbers aren't there to back it up. I also am of the belief that since I've been here, those that have come here post-COVID have not exactly been the cream of the crop type of people. There has been, I think, a little, I don't want to use the word low class, I don't know, just a little more backwoods type of guy that's coming here, a little less sophisticated, and a little more crude, a little more rude, a little more obnoxious. And I believe that those few, just like apples, you know, there's one bad apple to spoil a whole bunch. Those few that are raising their voices, raising hell, causing a scene either in a restaurant or in immigration or in a public market or in a public arena, give the rest of us a bad name. People say that expats are driving up the prices of everything here. I will give you a 50-50 on that. I think that foreigners are driving up the rents here just due to supply and demand. Foreigners are much more picky now because there's been some nicer places being built and they want those Western conveniences, and there's just a scarcity of them. Guys that come out here and are committed to stay, they grab the nice place and they don't leave it. And when they do, it gets scooped up. May and I have lived in the same little house now for 3 years, right?
Yes, getting 4 years.
Getting 4 years. And it's no Shangri-La, believe me. Unlike some of my other YouTube friends, I don't live on a big mansion overlooking the beach. I don't have a rock star apartment somewhere with a beautiful sparkling pool. I just got a dumpy little house.
Daddy Paul is very simple.
I am a simple man.
I'm very
proud. May likes it that way because we've looked at it and I said, you know, May, we could go and get just what we talked about. We could go get a nice big house somewhere with the granite tops and, you know, the built-in this and the ovens and the microwaves and all this and that and the other, and it would cost 35 or 40,000 pesos,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, right now we pay 18,000
Yeah.
pesos, and that
I'm
includes
very happy
that
that
includes
the
our
price.
internet. And so we finally corrected the two big problems that we were having, and that was water pressure. The guy finally came over and fixed that issue. And what else did we have a problem with? Can't remember. But it's just small. And it's like we can't have parties, we can't have people over, we can't really entertain at our house, and that's fine because we're not big party givers anyway.
Yeah.
But so there is an issue with rental properties. But I still don't think that foreigners are driving up the overall cost of things here in the Philippines. I think inflation itself, that dynamic, is raising the price of rice and the price of gasoline. Foreigners don't control the price of oil. We don't control the price of food. We are, the biggest effect that we would have on the community is rentals. And a lot of people are finally just succumbing to the fact that since there is so little selection, really, of a place to live that's got everything that you want, because it might be a nice place, but you might have to drive down some nasty dirt road to get to it, and that's no fun. It might be a nice place, but next door is a not so nice place where they're raising pigs or chickens, or they got wild dogs going nuts.
Very noisy.
Karaoke, you know, people buzzing up around with no mufflers. So to try to find a really nice place, what a number of us have come to the conclusion of is that we have to make our own. It's like manage or be managed. And so when you're renting and you're having to succumb to making concessions to what you really want, that's being managed, all right? You're just sort of settling for what you can get in your budget. Or you can take the bull by the horns, you can get your own little place, and you can try to create your own dwelling. And that's a project that we're in the middle of and having very little success with. But that's another story, and that's another video that's either going to be out or before this one or after it. I don't know which time. Anyway, so that's one of those misconceptions that I think is about the Philippines, is that there's too many expats. I think the visual is there because you can see us, again, I'll repeat myself, in high visibility areas, and there are some kind of undesirables that have been showing up recently that have been creating some havoc and some noise, and I'll just let it go at that. The next one is the budgets, and people coming up with all kinds of different budgets. Well, we do a budget video every 6 months. And I do that because there's new subscribers by every 6 months. And a lot of them, if anybody asks me a question, if anybody sends me an email or a comment or something on Messenger, a lot of the questions have to do with, can I live there on this much money? It is impossible for me or anybody else that's on social media, YouTube specifically, to tell you what you can live on. I have no idea what it is, what kind of lifestyle that you want. I can tell you that for the first 5 years I was living here, I lived by myself, and then I lived with her, and it never changed. For the longest time, I lived on $1,500 a month, net. And that would be 30 days. Now that number has gone up to more like 2,000, about 33% increase, I think, something like that, from 1,500. And that is due to the aforementioned inflation, and we haven't moved. So our rent has not gone up. Our food has gone up.
Yeah.
The price of gasoline
Yeah.
has gone up.
The price.
The entrance fees to places has gone up.
Very high.
When I first moved here, it cost 40 pesos to walk into Forest Camp.
Yeah.
Right? That's a little recreational place. Today, what's the entrance fee, baby?
300.
300 pesos from 40. A hamburger. I mean, the only thing that really hasn't changed, and you might find this funny or ironic, because everybody's talking about the price of fast food in America. You know that in McDonald's, it's the same price today as it was 7 years ago? I can get a Happy Meal, not a Happy Meal, a Big Meal. I bought too many Happy Meals when I was raising kids. But I can get a burger, fries, Coke, the combo meal for about $5. And that's what it was when I left the States. And now people are telling me that burger, fries, Coke in America is $12 or $17 or something crazy. That's the one thing that's remained static out here. And it's always confused me how they've managed to do that. But if we go to a chain restaurant like Sans Revolve, if we go to, any restaurant really, anywhere in town, it's about a 30% increase in food. Food prices at the grocery store have kept right up with the Joneses there in America. I know that for the last 4 years, it's cost 20% more to live in America than it did the previous 4 years. I just heard that statistic the other day. I would say the same is true, if not maybe emphasized a little bit more out here in the Philippines, that the price has kicked up. So I think the idea of being able to live here on less than $1,000 and is doable, but if you throw in that silly phrase, you'll live like a king for $1,000, well, you can toss that out with the bathwater, okay? Because you are not going to live like a king for $1,000 or less. The irony behind that is 8 years ago, before I came to live in the Philippines, I would encounter Filipinos in America at my job. They would come into my place of business, and I would sit with them, and I would be talking to them, and I would be sharing with them. They were OFWs, overseas foreign workers, nurses, doctors, whatever they were doing. And they were all planning on coming back to the Philippines at one point in time. And I shared with them, I said, I'm going to move and retire to the Philippines. And they said, really? They got really excited. And it was usually a husband and a wife, because I was in the car business, so I'd be talking to them about their car business, about their car purchase. And the woman always said the same thing. You know what she said? She said, you know what you're going to get, Paul? And I said, what's that? She says, you're going to get a beautiful young wife. That's the first thing the woman said. And she just said it with she goes, you're going to get a young one. Really? And it seems so funny. And look, she's right. She's 30 years younger than me. So that came true. And then they go, what's your budget? And I would tell them, I said, well, I got $1,700, I think was the number, from my Social Security back in that time, prior to coming out here. It's since gone up to 23 or 24, something like that. Anyway, but I think it was 16 or 1,700 bucks. And I said, well, I'm going to have $1,700 a month. And they said, Paul, you are going to live like a king. Both of them would say that to me. This is a Filipino couple at work in America 8 years ago. And the guy would tell me, you're going to have a house, you're going to have a maid, you're going to have a house boy, you're going to have your own private driver. He was naming off all this stuff. It sounded like I was going to be, Hugh Hefner or something, with this young, beautiful woman and a limousine driver and a housekeeper and a yard guy and this guy and that guy. And he meant it with all of his heart. But what he didn't realize was that he was placing himself out where he came from, which was the province. He didn't come from Metro Manila or from Cebu. These guys were coming from the outer line areas like where she's from, where Chaiton
Yeah,
or Bais or
province.
something like that, more of a province-style life. And he was dead on right. I would have lived like a king in his own little world. You know, I would have been a big fish in a very small pond. You change the size of the pond, and you as the fish shrink down. And so the idea that you can live out here on only $1,000 is a reality, but you're not. I couldn't do it. I've done it twice, just as a exercise. I took $1,000 out once when I was single, and I lived on it. And I took $1,000 out when I was living with her, and that was during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was really pretty easy during COVID to live on $1,000 because you couldn't go anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
Basically, just stayed at home.
Yeah.
And places that you could eat, but with the guys that were kind of open when they weren't supposed to be open were the local guys. You know, they're making the cheap barbecue and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't go to, you know, some Americanized restaurant because they were all locked down.
Yeah.
And so we were able to squeak by. And so, yeah. And if you pushed my back against the wall and said, all right, Paul, you have to live on $1,000 this month, barring any medical challenges or any unforeseen expenses or any kind of crazy thing like a visa renewal that, you know, is coming up or a medical thing, I could do it. I could hang. I could do it. I could make it on 1,000. Wouldn't be happy. I mean, it would be staying home a lot. We wouldn't take the car. We would take the bike.
Yeah.
We would just take the dogs down to the park and let them run. We would be eating the local stuff. We wouldn't be having our $3 coffees. We would be paying our rent. We'd be paying our electricity. We'd be paying whatever else we pay.
It's free the water.
Yeah, it's free to water.
Yeah, and
20
up in the
pesos.
Apollo.
So the water's free.
Yeah.
It's 20 pesos a month. It's free. And then, I don't know what, we just replaced the gas. So I can't come up with a big overhead, to be honest with you. I think about $500 is my overhead for rent and for electricity and for water.
Yeah.
And then the rest just goes to food. Food for us and food for the dogs. And so, yeah, we could get by. But we like to socialize. We like to get out. Like today, we're at a little resort that May found. And we wanted to get out in the fresh air.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's quiet. Hopefully the light's okay. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing a bunch of ambient noise. We got tired of sitting on the couch and doing videos from there. So we just wanted to come out and meet you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big myths, I think. I think that by showing you where I live, which I've done in the past, and I think if you asked 10 guys, 5 of them are going to tell you $2,000 does it for them. I think 3 of them out of the 10 is going to say $3,000 does it for them. One of my friends, Jason, he says that's my number, $3,000. And then you might have the one guy, like we have our friend Darren, and he lives on $600 a month. But he fixes up houses, and I wouldn't want to live the way he lives. He takes public transportation everywhere. He doesn't own his own bike or anything, and that doesn't work for me. Can it be done? Sure. But would I want to do it? No. Would you want to do it? I think it takes a special breed of cat in order to pull that off. And then the last thing is the romance angle. Some guys will portray the Philippines as females that are just ready, willing, and able to throw themselves at you just because you're a foreigner. Now, I've asked my wife before we did this video, I go, what do your friends really prefer? Do they really prefer foreigners or do they really prefer Filipinos? And what's your answer?
Foreigner.
Foreigner.
Yeah.
And it's not just because she's with one, but they find foreigners attractive.
Yeah.
Speak for you. You said because of long nose.
Yes, it's the number one.
That's the number one. They make prettier babies, according
Yeah.
to you.
White baby.
Lighter, white babies.
Yeah.
A bunch of racists, okay? You know, they want the lighter skin, right? Isn't that the big thing? Yeah, yeah, they got skin whitening soap up the ass out
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
One time it gave me a black eye because I got some of it in me. She thinks it's still really funny. And I got this, it's like nuclear waste, okay, that you're washing your body with. It's peeling off the skin, or peeling off the color. I think our video is getting dark, but I'm sorry, but the light's changing.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was, oh, the romance thing. I think that there are not going to be hordes of women that are throwing themselves at you just because you're a foreigner. They may give you a second look. There might be some more flirtatious behavior, if depending on what town you're in. In Dumaguete, that's pretty much dead. I don't see that at all. Of course, I'm married to you, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't get any of that kind of action. But other guys have also told me, they said, you know, Dumaguete, as far as meeting somebody, is pretty much dried up. You can go to the bar girls, but those aren't the girls that you're looking for as far as a long-term, serious relationship. It's still the same old story, guys. You need to go out of town into the province and make yourself be known and actually stay out there for a while. The other way to do it, I reckon, would be to get here, get yourself established first, have yourself a home base, have a house, have an apartment, have transportation, know your way around, and then if you want to join a dating site, which I'm not a big fan of, but anyway, that's one way to meet somebody. If you Facebook, I think, is really effective. But the way that I met my wife, and I still to this day think the best way to meet a significant other. Boy, we're getting dark in this picture. I hope this works.
It's clear, little clear.
Let me see.
Yeah, clear.
Is it clear?
Yep.
All right. Well, anyway, what was I at? Oh, is by networking. In other words, I was here 2.5 years, and I wasn't necessarily looking to hook up with people. That wasn't my big primary thing. I ended up doing that, but I did it because we were introduced.
Yeah, my friend.
Your friend Ella
Yeah.
introduced me.
Yeah.
And your friend Ella asked me, I was the third wheel, do you have a girlfriend? And I said, no. And she said, well, I have someone I think you might like. And, well, here we are. Okay, now we're married. I really think that is the best way to meet somebody, is if you're a nice guy, if you're genuine, if you're polite, if you groom properly, you like shower and brush your teeth and do little things like that. Because there are some, like I said, some of the guys coming out here are a little lower caliber as far as their personal hygiene and the rest. Word does kind of travel fast out here. And the fact that you're a single eligible guy, you're a nice guy, yeah, they're interested in your pocket. Yes, they're interested in your wallet. What woman isn't? Women like the idea of stability, security, and top that with a nice guy. Not all these women are out here are scammers. That's 3% will scam you. And the reason that it seems so prevalent is because guys get on, like I just said, I don't like all these dating sites and stuff, and that's where those types of people congregate and do their business. But if you just come out here, live your life, and mix in with the locals, make friends with the women, make friends with your friends' girlfriends, they will always have a cousin, a friend, a relative, somebody that they want to hook you up with. All right, well, that's enough of us screwing around and confusing one another for one day. All right, we're going to hit the road. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in our next goofy video.
Bye-bye.